Hey everyone, Margarita here. Today is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025, and I just want to do this updated video on the phone call I made to the city a couple days ago regarding Ford Motor Company's repeated gas spills that flow into the sewer system, and my house sits on the main flow line of where that all is, maybe about a mile down the road. Now, I mentioned that on the phone call, you heard me say that how it all works, how injured I am, what I just mentioned, where it flows to, where it comes from, and then it spreads every which direction. So, natural precipitation over time will spread whatever spills that are in there. So no matter what. That's just how it's built. That's how it works. And you could tell that the guy, his name was Eric Holtz, you could tell that he had said in the video that it was not his problem because it's all over the city and it's in the air everywhere. Right there, he's trying to cover his own ass and lying, because it is his problem due to where the spill initiated from and where it flows to from the time it spills. So once the Ford Flat Rock plant spills, it goes into Flat Rock sewer system. It comes directly to my house first, is one of the first places it goes. And from there, it spreads everywhere with natural precipitation, no matter if it's being flushed or not. So that's problem number one. Right then and there, he's lying. Because it is his problem. He said, that he can't control the whole city. Yes, you can. You can control. You're controlling the whole city. You're in charge of that. You're in charge of the sewer systems. You even said in the phone call that you're in charge of that. Okay, well, that's where the spill came from. That's where it flows to. And then it spreads. So it spreads outwards from there, which means you are in control. You are the person that is in control of the sewer system for the area where the spill initiated and where it is spreading to. And so when it depends on the temperature outside. So when it's very, very cold, the way it was when the spill first happened, the first couple of weeks, it was freezing cold. It was below freezing here. So when it's that cold, the spill and the particles stay low to the ground and lower in the sewer system. They don't raise up quite high enough until the weather starts to break, when it gets about 25, 35 degrees and higher. And then as the weather gets warmer, the particles spread higher and higher up into the air, up out of the sewer system. That's where the particles come from. And I'm aware of this due to the nature of my condition. And I figured this all out during the first spill in 2021, 2022. I'd figured all this out then, because I was traveling out and about regularly. During that, I had no choice to maintain my bills and maintain treatment and keep us alive. I had no choice. So I'm very well aware of how it works, where it spreads, how it goes. In the video, I caught him lying immediately, trying to act like he's not responsible for that. Yes, you are. You just said you controlled the sewer system and that's what you're responsible for. And then later in the phone call, you're saying that it's not your problem. You're not responsible for that. Yes, you are. I just caught you lying on film. So, yes, these videos are going to be released. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish telling my entire injury and my entire situation and the story of everything that has happened to us, because I'm trying to do it in order and then release these videos. However, when something urgent like this pops up and jumps in front of everything and it becomes life or death and we're not receiving any help from anyone and we're already so extremely injured, I may have to just jump forward and release these videos right now. So I'm going to go take a ride here in a minute and assess where things are. It had been raining yesterday. It's still a little wet outside. I don't know if it's currently raining, but that's very dangerous for me to go out with any type of precipitation because it stirs everything up. So that rain coming down is stirring up the particles as it's flowing into the sewer system. It's making the particles rise up. And like I said, I've been through this numerous times now. That first spill went on for a couple years. So I'm very well aware of how all this works. My brain tissue is wide open. Everything goes straight through. I have no protective barrier blocking any of that from entering my system. So it loads up in my brain. It loads, it goes right through into my bloodstream and comes straight out my pores in buckets of sweat immediately. And depending on how quickly that happens and how much sweat and how much particles are loading into my brain, because it will become in knots, literal knots will be loaded up. So, you know, I'll be able to tell once I take a ride. And then the amount of gas coming out of my ears when I get back and the inner ear itching, I'll be able to tell as soon as, you know, I'll be able to tell once I'm out there. It won't even be I won't even be a minute down the road. I won't even be off my street and I'll be able to tell. My inner ears will be itching, I'm sure. Now, due to the fact that I've been through this several times, I feel fairly comfortable. I have to go to the post office. I don't have a choice. It's not that far from here, but I took a 5-minute drive a few days ago, and it made both me and my son violently ill very fast. And I've basically been home since. I have not left. So, and he did, and then he was brought back, and he's losing oxygen very fast. We don't have our concentrator backup system. We don't have our home hyperbaric backup system running right now. We also can't travel to the treatment center, and we're out of funds to treat at the treatment center. We can't get treatment at the hospital, so that's its own problem. But it's a very serious issue, and you can hear him coughing in the background. He's losing oxygen is what that is. So I'm trying to keep him here. I don't want him leaving the home. You know what? I smelled the same smell that's coming out of my shower in my master bathroom. Yesterday, well, actually, I noticed it a few days ago. And I thought it's just because the shower needed to be cleaned, so I cleaned the entire shower. And then I took a shower yesterday in it, and there's a problem. There's gas coming up out of and my shower is all the way upstairs, so really far from the ground. And now I'm downstairs. I'm nowhere near that room or that bathroom. I'm not even anywhere near below it. It's on the other side of the house. But right where I'm sitting right here, I can smell the same smell that's coming out of my drain. Okay, so I'm going to have to look into that. That's something I did not notice before. But I am going to take a trip out. I am going to assess the situation. I'm probably going to come back and have to do ear candles. I do have an appointment later. It's going to cost money to cancel, so I'm going to have to go to it. Hopefully it doesn't cause like more extreme distress, and I do need to take a ride to the bank as well. So when I leave here shortly, I'm going to go to the post office. I'm going to go to the bank. The post office is 5 minutes away, 5 minutes back, and a few more minutes down the street in the opposite direction is the bank, and then a few minutes back home. Now, because I've been through this numerous times, I'm aware of the risks, the feelings internally, and how the gas loads up in the manner in which it loads up, how much is out there, how much is loading, how quickly. The level of danger basically that I'm in, I can kind of assess, unfortunately, due to how many times I've been through this. So it will load up in my system. I don't know how quickly or how bad it's going to be, but the rain does make it worse. So that's a situation. Hopefully I'm not in and out of, hopefully I don't lose consciousness driving. That is one of my very big main concerns regarding all of this. And even if that does happen, this is directly the result of Ford's actions and the city's actions and not taking me seriously. And there's another issue regarding that, which I don't want to mention just yet. I'll get into that more later down the line once my videos go viral, because there's a legal matter that affects all of that as well. So I'll go viral with that probably once my whole situation's known or the story is known to a certain degree before I ever bring that up or mention it. So, because it is a very big factor and it plays a role in every single thing we've been through, and it makes everything 1,000 times more dangerous. So if I happen to lose consciousness while driving, that could kill people, you know? And there's nothing I can do about it because nobody's trying to take care of the situation and the problem that's causing the situation. And I have to get the mail. And unfortunately, there's bills that have to be paid. I have to get to the bank and I have to get to the post office today. Like, it can't wait any longer. The other problem is my mailbox was knocked down about a month ago. So I haven't had a mailbox up either. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have to go to the post office. And then it was so cold, I couldn't put it back up. We couldn't get into the ground. And then there was all this snow. But then the spill happened and we haven't really been able to leave, and I can't even be out there long enough to put it back up. So there's several issues here. You know, now I'm starting to think, who knows? I don't know if the mailbox thing, it very well could have been accidental, but it could have been intentional as well. You know, you never know with what's going on at this point. But I just wanted to bring up the fact that, I caught the guy lying. I caught Eric Holtz lying about him being responsible for the sewer system in the area. First, he said that's what he was responsible for. And then when I said it's in the entire area, this is where the spill comes from. This is where the gas particles are. This is where they're rising up from. This is where it's coming from. Then he tried to say it's not his problem after I said I was going public. So it is his problem. And the other thing I want to mention, I did call him out for having the mayor talk on the news about how nobody had been injured and everybody was lying, when here we were with our brains bleeding, in a state of suffocation, in and out of consciousness, fighting for our lives, trying to get enough money to get another home an hour away so I could at least still get to work, because I was working in Ohio at the time, and which I did end up doing. It took months, and I still had to pay to keep us alive, and we had to treat at the private center. It was $600 a week just to keep us alive during all that, while being forced to live on the floor with our brains bleeding on the main floor of the home in the one room. And that's due to my mother inserting herself in the Ford gas leak and having them cut off our hotel. Telling them I've always had a mental disorder. We've never had a medical condition. It's all made up. I do it for attention. And really that's what she does. So, I have proper medical documentation. I have self-pay receipts. I have everything. I will do a video and show all of it. It's not questionable. Now, what I wanted to mention was, how I mentioned to Eric Holtz on the phone how the mayor was on the news talking about nobody had been injured. I'm talking about the situation pertaining to February of 2022. There was a fisherman who found the gas particles floating in the river nearby, and that's because they flush it through the sewer system, flush it into the rivers and the nearby lakes, and they only clean up a certain percentage of it, not all of it. And I'm the only one who knows that due to my condition, and I can tell where the particles are when traveling out and about. I know where everything was because I was traveling far distances during that initial spill, because they were lying to everybody on the news, telling everybody it was contained. And first of all, it's not possible to contain. How do you think they get rid of it? They spread it everywhere. But nobody knew that but me. I was literally the only person who knew that. So when that story aired on the news, I already knew something was going on. And I wasn't even a TV watcher at this time. I don't watch TV, but my neighbor actually sent me the news clip when I messaged him about, I could tell the particles were very high. And I moved myself from the couch to the floor and figured out a couple inches onto the floor were more clear than up on the couch. We had no clear air in our house at that time whatsoever in February of 2022. And I almost had to get up and leave and take us to a hotel that night. And I had messaged my neighbor, and that's when he sent me the news clip. So that's how I found it and I viewed it. But the mayor was on the news talking about the guy who had found the gas, the liquid gas that was still in the river from the initial spill in September 2021. It was in the river, and other people aren't aware that that's where it was being flushed to, because on the news they were telling people it was contained, which it never was. So to cover that up, the mayor went on the news and said that there was some other company that used to be owned by Ford like decades ago, and there was some underground storage tank under the water, under the river, something that was leaking that was very old. And that's where it came from, which the whole story was made up. That's all completely false. Nobody knew that this initial spill was never cleaned up. It was only like 90% cleaned up. And there was still a very large amount of particles in the whole area. I mean, even I'm talking 20, 30 miles out, it was blanketing the entire area still at that time, at least 20, 30 miles out, maybe even a little further. And I'm the only one who knew that because of my condition. And I had been, it's ongoing. Every breath I'm taking goes right through. So if there's a whole area blanketed and I'm being forced to breathe in that area, I'm aware of where every single particle is, because I'm having ongoing continuous symptoms, brain bleeding. At that point, it felt like dirty rain going through my brain tissue that was open, and it was flowing into my bloodstream, and it was running up and down my body while my ears were bleeding, while I was in and out of consciousness. And I stayed that way till I got us out of here. So it was almost, it was probably about 10 months that I stayed living that way till I got us out of here. And it took about 2 years from then. About two and a half years total for those particles to flush completely for me to return home from the time of the initial spill. So I didn't return home until January of 24. And, what I want to mention is no one knew that. And so that story is Googleable. You can Google that and find that news clip about the man who found the gas flowing in the Huron River, who is fishing. And then the mayor came on talking about how nobody's been injured, that, you know, made up this whole fake story. No one was aware it was from the initial spill except me. So right then and there, I caught them lying. That's really what I was talking about in that phone call. I didn't like point to that specific situation. They were probably thinking I was talking about the initial spill in 21 that was on the news. But no, I was actually talking about the 22 spill. Or it wasn't a spill, it was ongoing from the one that happened. They just never cleaned it up all the way. And then they had to come up with a fake story because some random citizen found it and called the news. So they had to come up with a story to tell. And that was their story. And I'm the only one with the proper information because I'm the one sitting here with my brain bleeding, suffering, not even knowing if we're going to make it out of here or if we're going to live. So that was all a lie. None of that was real. Ford is responsible. The mayor's a lying sack of shit. His name's Mark Hammond. He's a fat fuck. I want to kick him in his nuts. So, sorry. Yeah, I just can't control my mouth sometimes. Sorry, I got 5 brain injuries on top of the fact that I've been living with my brain bleeding all over again. So if you can't, like, you know, handle my language and my use of words, get the fuck off my channel. But I'm here to expose the truth. I'm here to expose all these corrupt agencies, all these corrupt people, all these people who've destroyed my life. I will be exposing them all one at a time, video by video. There's a lot here. So, you hear that? And I smell gas. I'm going to go check it out. I'll be back with another one. Thanks. Bye.